on King Tutankhamun.
King Tut served as the king of Egypt from 1347 BC till his death at 1339 BC. His reign of king was unimportant, but interest in King Tut began in 1922 when the British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered his tomb. The tomb contained most of its treasures, and it had not been opened since ancient times. Still ancient Egypt king to be discovered, almost completely undamaged. Historians believe that King Tut died at about the age of 18, but they are unsure of the cause of his death. Carter searched for King Tut's tomb for about 10 years. He finally discovered that its entrance had been covered by debris from digging at the entrance of a nearby tomb of King Rames VI. King Tut four-room tomb contained 5,000 objects, including many beautiful carved and gold-covered items. A magnificent, lifelike gold mask of King Tut covered the head and shoulders of the royal mummy.
Among the items discovered were luxurious chests, thrones, beds, linens, cloths, necklaces, bracelets, rings, and earrings. Carter also found chariots, bows and arrows, swords, daggers, shields, ostrich feather fans, trumpets, statues of Tutankhamun and many Egyptian gods, figures of animals, models of ships, toys, games, and storage jars containing precious oils. Ancient Egyptians believed in a life after death, called the afterlife. They had their favorite possessions and practical objects buried with them for later use in the afterlife. Most of the items found in Tutankhamen's tomb were now displayed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. One of the most emblematic items in the tomb was a note on the handle of the king's fan. The note indicated that the young Tutankhamun hunted at Heliopolis near modern Cairo. Wine jar labels indicated the length of Tutankhamun's reign. Several objects included scenes that show Tutankhamun saying foreign enemies in battle, but scholars doubt that these scenes pictured actual events.
Arizona, 1986 champion, Southtown Speedway. Well, welcome race fans. Here we are, another season, bigger, better. Number 5, the first little race we're leading up around here is held at Roller Track and from Buffalo Center, Iowa. Chris Holland. Number 9, somewhere out there, if he's out there yet, is his brother, Tony Holland. Number 6, from Buffalo Center, Robbie Rippentrop. Number 34, Doug Ackerman. Here. Number 79, from Mason City, Iowa, Bobby Hanson. Number 54, from Arizona, Clay Evans. Number 46, from Mankato, Minnesota, is Matt Potts. Number 44 from here at Forest City, Jeremy Buckmeyer. Number 4 from Lake Mills, Ryan Kessler. Number 11 from Mankato, Minnesota, Adam Painter. And number 56 from Whaledale, the North Iowa Karting Club. Bernie Kaufman, President. Dave Bartlett, Vice President. Terry Kaufman, Secretary Treasurer. 65 to 80 loads of spray. It's going to take a little extra to get the plant in shape after tonight, maybe another week. Again, while those junior class are going to run a few hot laps, they're going to be a little bit quicker. I name off the board of directors for the 1987 season. As I mentioned, Benny Crawford, President, Dave Bartlett, Vice President, John Lee, Board Member, Denny Batcher from Clemmy, Tommy Howland from Buffalo Center, Stanley Hewitt from Bristol, Randy Thomas from... On the track, another new class for the year, Super Stock, Briggs and Stratton. Watch them go. 11 paid by Ray Forrest from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Young man by the name of Mike Klein. Buffalo Center, Iowa. Number 9, Tommy Howland from Buffalo Center. Number 7, Gary Wilson from Titanca. Number 68 from Mason City, John Chase. Number 8, Jeff Carlton from Titanca. Number 13, Stanley Hewitt from Bristol. Number 18, Earl Malden from Lyric. Number 11, Nathan Storm from Dines. And number 25, Dave Hammerman from Wanamaing Bay, Minnesota. And Dave came a long ways to race. That's up on the other side of Rochester. We will run the races off just like we did a year ago. Just clickety-click, but there'll be a lot of them. Stick around because those cycles, 2 cycles are going to be wild. New cut from Eldorado, Iowa. Doesn't look like Clay lost his touch. Clay Evans, last year's point champion in this class. Number 4, Ryan Preston. Number 11, Adam Taylor. The next number 11 is Patrick Smoore from Iowa Falls. 56, Steve Smith. Tony Holland from Buffalo Center. Tony Holland's got a whole list of sponsors, but mainly it's Holland Enterprises.
I thought they straightened that out. They told her she done so well last week. Ernie gets horses. We do that 2 weeks, they're all going to become junior. Well, let's put her back.
Store, South 4th Street. Nice gesture on their part. Kind of helps promote the program. A little local advertising. You people that are driving here or are thinking of driving out here, tune in. We'll try to enlighten you way ahead of time. You get a little inside information. On the inside pole, Matt Potts from Mankato, Minnesota, showing them how to do it. Rick Coughlin is going to show him on the outside, number 42. Jeremy Buckmeyer from here at Forest City. Jeremy Buckmeyer, 46, Matt Potts from Mankato. Number 5, Chris Allen from Buffalo Center, Iowa. Chris did a little racing last year, but he was killing our rookie class this year. And number 6, also from Buffalo Center, Robbie Rippentrop. Robbie raced last year. Number 34, Doug Argument from Silver, Iowa. He didn't list his own town, but he's from Iowa. Number 79 from Mason City, Bobby Hanson. A leader, number 44, Jeremy Buckmeyer. Number 79, tonight's the first time that young man has ever been on the racetrack. Most of these other boys were on it for the first time last week. Oh, there's a one. Bobby Hanson, we're not there with that. He's out there, he's clear out away from everything. White flag coming out. Jeremy Buckmeyer, right number 34. Running second to Jeremy, Chris Allen from Buffalo Center. Second flag, Jeremy Buckmeyer. Into the two cycles this year after running in modified last year. Now the boys are trying to figure out on the back seat where they belong. Number 8 racer is just out. Number 72 for Buffalo Center, Eddie Griffin. Take a good look at him. These boys will fly too. Benny Carson owns and operates the Blizzard Speedway. Carson Speedway, they race every other Sunday afternoon. So we rebuild his track and it's nice. No short track, 10 miles, good paint. We'll do a fly on it. It's the Yuga and the Carson. Let's see who's the fastest. Tommy Howland down the backside. Looking strong, Eddie Griffith. Tommy Howland making through high dive. Tommy Howland right down a Coyote. Tommy Allen first, Eddie Griffith second. Williams third, Carson fourth. Allen, Griffith, Carson, 1, 2, 3. Looks like Dave Stora broke the tie rod. The right wheel trying to get a front fender. Just a little side note, you people that are watching this track real close. The noise is starting to come up from this plane and it's actually getting a little bit stiff like a wind. You want a whole new education, try running a racetrack as well. Racer number 5 on the pole. The boys aren't lined up this way, right? Okay, Holland, Evans. the leader. Clay Evans running second. Ryan Kessler just pissed off a bucket. All right, he knows what he's doing. He did this last year. These boys don't look like the same group that was out here a week ago. Okay. Good job again. Bernie. Okay, the race of features 1, 2, 3, and 4. The winner, Chris Howland, Buffalo Center. Second place, Clay Evans. Third place, Chadwick Spora. Fourth place, Keith Schmidt, Swaleville, Iowa. Wait until these boys get their headgear off before we give them a good round of applause. Our rookie class 1987 version, Racers of the Future. All right, Chris Howland.
Hey, Chris.
Chris Howland, the winner.
All right.
Clay Evans. Chadwick Spora from Dow's, Iowa Falls, and Keith Schmitz.
You're going to get some more, kid. Yep. Come up. Whoa. Yeah, you got to get this on here, otherwise it won't fall in there. Let's see the truck. Yeah.
Ontario 4, IndyCar racing. Find the stadium used by the Toronto baseball Blue Jays and the football Argonauts. The Princess Gates, a well-known Toronto landmark, welcome visitors to Exhibition Place. Another landmark, the CN Tower, the world's tallest freestanding structure, is close by. The garages here are inside one of the huge exhibition buildings on the grounds. It's Karts' second visit here. For the first time this year at an IndyCar race, neither Roberto Guerrero nor Mario Andretti are on the pole. Instead, it's the defending champion of this race, Bobby Rahal. Before green, Jeff Brabham and teammate Jeff McPherson have an incident that sidelined both. So 23 cars charged to the first turn, and then there were 22. Dick Simon is gone after bumping with Randy Lewis. Next to go was Little Al in a shunt with Michael Andretti. Michael continued after changing a rear wing. For the first 35 laps until the first series of pit stops, Rahal led. Guerrero had a major problem on his first stop.
When he came into the pit, he pulled out a little bit too far out. The hose wouldn't reach, and as we fueled the car, no fuel went in the car. He had to make another second stop.
A fast stop by Emerson Fittipaldi gave him the lead, but rarely by more than a second over Rahal. Then the incident that might have cost Bobby the race. He has to make a second stop after hitting water used to douse a Rick Moskiewicz turbofire and overshooting the first time. From that point, Emo was in control, despite slower traffic, including Canadian Scott Goodyear.
I'm sure he didn't look in the mirror, and I saw he was going to let me by. But when we were coming like 3 corners before the finish line, and he was really slow, and he didn't let me by. And then he tried on my inside. I was already close. I nearly spun off, but everything finished well for me.
Meanwhile, Danny Sullivan in an 86 March, similar to the one he finished second here last year, has caught Emo. On the final lap, Danny goes for it, but fails.
I didn't really hold out a lot of hope. I mean, Emerson basically got held up in traffic, and it was a little unfair, but I wasn't complaining. And coming out of the last corner, where you swing around to the right, I just dove up the inside, and he wasn't having any of it, and I would have done the same thing, and I just went for it, and he closed the door and spun around, and we touched and spun around, backed up, took off again. But it was, I had to go for it. I just figured, no guts, no glory.
It was Fittipaldi's second win this season, in fact, 2 in a row. It was the first time a Pat Patrick car has won 2 in a row since Gordon Johncock did it back in 1982 at Indy and Milwaukee. And by the way, Fittipaldi was issued a warning by Toronto police for speeding on his way to the airport after the race.
And after 2 successive races of being thwarted in his victory quest by Didier Taze, Tommy Byrne finally came home first in the American Racing Series. But the satisfaction of beating the Belgian Taze on the track head-to-head in a Buick dealer's ARS race still didn't happen. Byrne and Taze qualified 1-2 in the 10-car grid, but Didier had crashed in a late practice session, and his hastily repaired Buick March simply was just never up to the task. Indeed, third starting Mike Groff shrugged off the first lap, first turn jinx and celebrated later as one of the few drivers to pass Didier in ARS competition this year. Mike finished second. Taze failed to finish for the first time. There were no new faces this race, and 2 of the familiar names, Jeff Andretti and Red Here, struggled with a wounded duckling of a car, and Steve Millen flew calmly to third. Bob in Victory Lane asked Byrne, did you expect it to be so easy?
Well, I didn't think it was easy. Well, we kind of needed those points. This was our race, and things had to change around in this race. If they didn't, it was looking bad for me for the championship, so there was a lot of pressure on.
Also at Toronto, Canada's richest showroom stock series, the Players' Challenge. 8 events in Eastern Canada, and this was the halfway point of the season. Number 16, Paul Reynolds, wasn't supposed to do this, exit through the Prince's Gates. He just failed to make the turn. Damaged cars are not uncommon in this series because it's so competitive. Each point scored is worth $10. Although they're sometimes knocked off, Goodyear Gatorbacks are the exclusive tire for the series. This race on Saturday after IndyCar qualifying drew Tom Sneva and John Richards as spectators. Driving school co-owner Richard Spinard is defending champion of the series and has already won once this year. He missed the other race because he was competing at Le Mans. They invert the fastest 6 qualifiers. Spinard was the fastest, but from the 3rd row, he held off the challenge of points leader Peter Lockhart to win this one. Spinard has been successful in other types of racing, including the American Trans Am Series, and he's the defending Canadian Formula 2000 champ. The 2000s also raced at Exhibition Place. This is the 3rd championship race in this series this year. By virtue of his win here today, number 65, Stefan Krul, has now won 2 of the 3.
Speed Week is brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Busch Beer. The beer with a taste as smooth as its name.
Coming up, the Special K has a red letter day, but not quite an A+.
And the Double R doubles up with Spencer for most wins.
Bob Strange, B.F. Goodrich test engineer.
The trick to building great all-terrain tires is making them as good off-road as on. All-terrain TAs from B.F. Goodrich are tested in some of the roughest off-road situations in the world. I believe TA radials are the best performance tires in the world, and I torture them to keep them that way.
TA radials from BF Goodrich, tested tough to make your truck perform.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
Man has always been fascinated with speed. But winning is more than a quest for speed. It's a measure of skill, a test of guts. And though NASCAR has changed through the decades, its spirit never will. It's not just the machine, it's the man who drives it. We're proud to be a part of this great sport. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR.
Something's stirring, and there's no denying its energy. Its arrival. This phenomenon goes by the name of Daytona. The brand new front-wheel drive Dodge Daytona. Be prepared for even more excitement per mile. Dodge Daytona. Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
Given Tim Richmond's Pocono prowess, his recent hot streak in pole qualifying speed, his odds look pretty good Sunday for the Winston Cup event. The white car outside pole this weekend surprise, and he's going to make the most of it. Super sophomore, Alan Kowicki. In the race's pace-setting early stages, it's Richmond and Bill. Not quite as awesome as he once was, Elliott. Even matched fender paint down pit lane, but neither was around at the end, both retiring with engine problems. There are few prettier pictures in racing than a Pocono restart. That three-quarter-mile runway is often a piece of racing art. 3 crashes of some significance. This one car, Pops and Michael Waltrip, for a checkup. These 4 cars were basically a gathering of the Eastern Clan. Only Ron Shepard could continue. And this is the treacherous tunnel turn, which snagged, who else? Harry Gant again. Bobby Hillen Jr., the other participant. Buddy Baker survived fender bending for 3rd, one of his year's finest, and a consistent Benny Parsons came home 4th. Quicksilver Davey Allison didn't chase for the lead, but scored 5th. And this visually leisure pace is about as easy as Neil Bonnet has quietly slipped into 2nd place in points with his 7th place. After a brief test from Rusty Wallace, he had a chance again. The final laps came down to Earnhardt and Kowicki. They traded the lead a couple of times. They bumped fenders, but nothing blatant here. Dale led across the tunnel turn on the white flag. Roll reversal between 2 and 3, and then the tunnel turn on the final lap is where the race was determined. The cool-off lap was a gunfighter stare-down between the two, but it also celebrated Dale's 8th win in 16 races. That's fairly close to a 500 batting average. Alabama International Motor Speedway at Talladega is the scene of this weekend's Winston Cup race, and if Dale Earnhardt finishes 38th or better, he will become the 6th driver to win $1 million in a season, but he will have done it the quickest.
A year ago at this time, Earnhardt was leading Winston Cup points, and Darrell Waltrip was just 159 points behind. This year, Waltrip is 7th in points. The first half of this season has been disastrous for the Dream Team. Waltrip, team manager Waddell Wilson, and car owner Rick Hendrick.
I have to admit to you that I felt going into this season that we would be competitive. We would be a car that you would have to beat week in and week out. That maybe we wouldn't win, because winning is hard to do, and sometimes it takes just a lot of good luck and circumstances for you to win. But I never thought I would not be competitive like I have not been. I have not been able to race. I haven't been at the front. We've been laps down. We've had problems, and that's been the disappointing thing.
Darrell had 2 top 10 finishes before Sunday at Michigan and at the Firecracker 400, and he credits the return of crew chief Jeff Hammond.
He has just given me back the confidence, and he has assured me that I haven't lost my mind, and he's made a big difference in preparing the car for the races that we've been to so far. That's why we ran better at Michigan, and that's why we ran better at Daytona.
Waltrip finished 19th at Pocono, 10 laps off the pace. Now we'll have a special edition of Speed Week to wrap up the first half of the Winston Cup season, August 8th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time.
Tommy Houston and Dale Shaw won Grand National North races last weekend at Stafford, Connecticut and Holland, New York, respectively. And Grand National drivers Larry Pearson and Elton Sawyer are among those who have enrolled in driving school at Road Atlanta. Their series competes there on August 2nd.
The support race at Pocono was a 40-lap invitational ARCA race, the Dash for Cash. Starting positions determined by a draw, it put Jerry Churchill and Jack Wallace on the front row. After Churchill led the first two circuits, Chargin' Charlie Glotzback took the point. One pit stop was mandatory. Bob Shack left early and didn't get the car completely full of fuel. Brent Adcox, who has an impressive record on super speedways, especially Talladega, was a little off in the setup today. He'll finish third. Doug French, a modified racer from Wall Township, New Jersey, did a respectful job, a fifth-place start and a fifth-place finish. ARCA has run 71 super speedway races. This was the first in history without a caution period. Shack took command on the 15th lap and led the rest of the way. It was his fourth win in 5 Pocono starts, and he was second in the other.
NASCAR's East Coast competing national modified circuit traveled to Thompson, Connecticut last week. Regular standout Reggie Ruggiero tied champion Jimmy Spencer for most wins this season, 4. No one else has more than 1. But this race was headlined by another modified tragedy. Traveling man Jamie Tomeno was that white car pole setting, Dave Resendez alongside. Less than 10 laps in, following the progress of Ruggiero, Corky Cookman slams the turn 3 wall at a severe angle. Removed unconscious, Corky was reported dead on arrival from massive internal injuries. The safety structure of the car seemed to hold up well, roll bars, cage, belts, but Corky's death is the third among prominent modified racers in the last 2 years. Maybe too similar to be ironic. Is it time to examine their structure? As usual in a modified race, some terrific racing. Jeff Fuller was quick for a while, and pit stops kept everybody honest. And for some reason, the front stretch was a hurdle, particularly on restarts. These are not replays or errors. Each is a separate incident. Mike Stefanik and Tomeno bruised some Nerf bars in this, and Reggie went on to the win. Prentice Corky Cookman, Jr., single, 43 years old, winner of 2 modified races in his career, the last here at Thompson a year ago. He is survived by his father.
Formula Continental driver William Vermeer of Groveport, Ohio, was killed Sunday during an SCCA national meet at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And many-time Canadian National Speedway motorcycle champion Gary Ford was critically injured in a racing accident at Welland Speedway in Ontario. Ford is best known in the U.S. for his indoor speedway ice racing.
Though remaining unconscious, hydroplane driver Steve Reynolds has been upgraded to fair condition at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis. He was injured during a race 3 weeks ago in Madison, Indiana.
In our next segment, a Mercure streak ends at 8.
And streaking to first place in showroom stock doesn't necessarily mean a victory. Stay with us.
Join the thousands who enjoy Stock Car Racing magazine. You get brilliant action color photography, columns and stories by drivers who win, and the men who set up the winning cars. Technical articles that explain in detail the workings of winning suspensions, components, and engines. Stories about the men behind the wheel, the drama, the excitement of stock car racing.
Call 1-800-441-3636 for a year of Stock Car Racing magazine. Less than $15. Have Visa or MasterCard ready. 1-800-441-3636. Stock Car Racing magazine.
If you have teenagers, I'm asking you to have a very difficult talk with them. Not about sex. For a lot of us, that would be easy compared to drugs. Drugs like cocaine and crack. But you must talk to them about drugs. If you don't talk about it, if you don't fight it, why should they? The idea of your kids using cocaine or crack ought to scare you to death. So please, learn about it and talk about it.
Tuesday, 2 of boxing's best brawlers are on ESPN. U.S. Junior Lightweight Champion Harold Knight and Junior Welterweight Slugger John Meekins. Live Tuesday night on ESPN's Top Ranked Boxing.
Travel arrangements made through Eastern Airlines. This year, fly non-stop to San Juan, where you can easily connect to one of the many exciting Caribbean destinations. At Eastern, we've got your summer.
The 8-race winning streak of Jack Roush-prepared Mercurs in the SCCA Trans Am Series is over. A Porsche 944 took the win Sunday at Brainerd International Raceway. You have to go all the way back to September of last year at Sears Point to find the last non-Mercur winner. Wally Dallenbach Jr. in a Camaro beat his teammate Greg Pickett in a Capri driven by Scott Pruitt. Last Sunday, the 300ZX Turbo of Paul Newman led 6 laps before a brake bias problem. The rest of the race was a 3-car duel among Pruitt, Elliott Forbes Robinson in the Porsche, and Pete Halsmer. Other Roush Ford colors were carried by Deborah Gregg. She's 3rd in points and destined for a 4th place finish today. On the last lap, Pruitt limps toward the pits with transmission problems. EFR has made a dramatic pass of Halsmer, and Elliott ends a 20-race personal non-win streak. Pruitt still leads the points. Jim Derhaug, who was 3rd at Brainerd, his best career finish ever in the series, is 2nd. Deborah Gregg is 3rd, followed closely by Les Lindley. Bill Doyle is 5th.
The 3rd race in SCCA's Escort Radar Warning Endurance Championship had a little bit of everything. At 6 hours, a little bit of light, some sunshine, although very little, and a lot of rain, and not all at once. Rain showers rolled in like a tide, back and forth, and finally, a race where none of the first 3 cars crossed the line to race. 3 teams continued to dominate the highest-ranking Supersport class. Baker Racing, Tommy and Bobby Archer will actually be flagged first for the 2nd time in 3 races. DR Motorsports, their lead tandem Bill Cooper and Mark Dismore, also seen in midgets recently on ESPN, flagged 2nd, and Morrison Cook, of course, each of the above in Corvettes. The top 3 finishers in the SS class disqualified after splashing across first. Engine infraction. Yeah, tough call, I know, but remember the spirit of this racing. Showroom stock. The Morrison Cook vet, driven by John Heinrichsey, Stuart Heener awarded the win. GT honors their first in 3 races, the Porsche 944 of Canada's Kees Nierop and Ohio's John Osteen, president of the company that makes Escort Radar warning devices. Pepe Pombo and Scott Hendricks won SSA in a Nissan 300ZX, while Californians Mark Walikachuk and Lance Stewart Honda SSB winners for the 2nd straight time.
Brainerd was also the venue for 2 more support races. In Formula Atlantic, Steve Sheldon returned to his role after a race with the new Swift and won his 1st of the year. In the Coors Race Truck Challenge, Bobby Archer beat brother Tommy.
The Milwaukee Mile, West Dallas, Bill Tempero checkered the Canadian-American team's event, and almost 5 hours after he took the checkered flag, Ted Musgrave was declared winner of the 100-mile Midwest Challenge of Champions stock car race. The delay caused by a question over the legality of Musgrave's engine.
This week's Bernstein File, brought to you by Quaker State, concerns the speed traps in drag racing.
I'm at the finish line of a drag strip, and I'm going to explain to you how the lights work, how you get the elapsed time and the mile per hour. First, you know that it starts at the starting line when the light beam is broken with the wheel of the car leaving. The same thing happens at the finish line. It doesn't stop until the car breaks the beam again. But there are 3 sets of lights down here in the finish line. And what confuses a lot of people is they think the first light is the finish line. It isn't the finish line. It starts the first mile per hour light. The finish line is actually the middle. That's the middle section of the finish line. That's the elapsed time light and the true finish line of the race. The last set of lights, the 3rd ones, which are 166 feet from the first to the last, are the last set of mile per hour lights. They take an average of that 166 feet to get the mile per hour. Your elapsed time comes on automatically, and the winner is right in the middle. And that's the way it works at the finish line. Doesn't matter how fast you go, who gets to the middle first? That's the one that wins. I'm Kenny Bernstein.
Now, this week's trivia question: who has the most career earnings in SCCA's Trans Am division? A, Elliott Forbes Robinson, B, Wally Dallenbach Jr., C, the great Mark Donahue, D, Bob Tullius, or E, Willie T. Ribbs? I'll have the answer in a moment.
Motorcraft quality parts travel with a vast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald, pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden, off-road champ Manny Esquera, top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
Bob Strange, B.F. Goodrich test engineer.
All week long, I test tires. But on weekends, I drive race cars. In some ways, tire testing is just as tough. Comparing one tire with another takes precision driving. I believe TA radios are the best performance tires in the world. And I punish them to keep them that way.
TA radios from B.F. Goodrich. Tested tough to make your car perform.
There's just one place you need to go for all the names and games making sports news. ESPN Sports Center. 3 times every day, Chris Berman and Gail Gardner bring you the latest scores, the hottest trades, and the top plays from the world of sports. Sports Center takes you on the road with live remotes from major events like the World Series and the Indy 500. Sports Center, your total source for sports, only on the Total Sports Network, ESPN.
And now the answer to this week's trivia question. Even with his win Sunday, EFR is 5th still on the money earnings list. Donahue's 3 championships came too long ago to be rich, and Tullius 3rd most starts but not most money, and Willie T's 85 season wealthiest in history, but it still leaves him second behind B, Wally Dallenbach Jr., who has won almost $300,000 in the series.
The World of Outlaws sprinters took their series to the southwest suburbs of Chicago last week. This is the track that will televise 3 live USAC races from beginning Thursday night, July 30th. Before racing, a jams contest. Now, this is Mark Kinzer showing off his homemade outfit and demonstrating rather clearly that to be a good race driver, you don't have to have modeling skills. Brad Doty has pole for the A main, which he thinks gives him a definite advantage.
This place, it's really narrow, tight cornered, and definitely starting on the front row is an advantage. Instead of racing and trying to pass people, all you got to do is race hard and keep them behind you. And I mean, it sounds easy, but it's definitely an advantage starting on the front.
While Brad held the lead, Steve Kinzer was passing Bobby Davis Jr. for second and lapping Doug Wolfgang. Sammy Swindell then passed Davis and began to challenge Steve, but Kinzer held the spot. Despite slower traffic and late laps, Doty won his 3rd World of Outlaw feature this year.
And out west, the CRA sprinters have been competing regularly at Ascot Park, their home track, and here's an update on that season. This man drives for the winningest team in CRA history, the Bromley operation. His drivers include Paul, brother of Parnelli Jones, and the great Dean Thompson, current driver Bubby Jones. And this is the team Bubby left last year, the Alex Morales group. The current driver, Eddie Worth, has been hot, winning 2 of the last 3 Ascot mains. The teams have won 128 and 118 features, the 2 best. Neither will win tonight. Rip Williams will have a great evening, although things didn't look rosy in his heat, spinning with Jerry Meyer, who scattered photographers, including our Mark Lecco, who stayed in there, though, and undaunted, they all returned when the dust settled. Points leader Mike Sweeney from pole in the main. He has won the most features this year, just 5, but each is separated by 1 month. But Williams springs into action immediately. This first-turn altercation left Scott Sloan on his side and several others parked. Coming up, though, the crash of the night. Worth was digging again, but the former cycle racer can't prevent this. Typical on-wing bicycle and then page first into the tire-cushioned wall. No injury. The Ripper didn't have it completely easy either. Gary G. Howard showed his nose a few times, but Williams held on for his first win this year. Jones, who won 3 of the first 5 30-lappers, raced up late to second. And this top 5 battle, a microcosm of the points race. Leader Sweeney in second place by about 100 markers, Brad Knopfsinger. Fast qualifier, by the way, Brad, 13 of 15 Ascot races.
At 8:20 a.m. this Sunday, we'll have live coverage of the German Grand Prix from Hockenheim. Alain Prost will be going for a record 28 Formula One wins. As ended speculation, he signed a 2-year contract with McLaren.
And Bob IMSA runs this weekend at Portland. Bobby Rahal will drive a 2nd Bayside Racing Porsche. He's already won 2 IMSA races this year and is 5th in points. Of course, he's the points leader in Indy cars.
And in our final segment, the runway at Long Beach is almost not long enough.
But 94 miles an hour is fast enough, but just barely.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow, with 2 or 4-door availability, affordable price, a 770 protection plan. The new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
It's one of the nation's top races for fillies and mares, and it's live on ESPN. Don't miss the 50th running of the Delaware Handicap, live Saturday at 6 Eastern on ESPN. Sunday, it's a high-speed chase on a dangerous course in Hockenheim. Nelson Piquet races to defend his title at the German Grand Prix. The action starts Sunday morning, live on ESPN.
Next, this 30-year-old Tennessean has specifically defined his goals in life.
They can't ignore me, not after this. And Robbie Knievel jumped 23 cars a couple of months ago in Vegas and said he wants to jump Caesars. Just because, and then I jumped 24 and 162 feet. Just because his name's Knievel and his dad did it doesn't mean it gives him the right that he should go in there and do it. You know, earn it. Have a jump off with me, win or take off. That's the way it should be. It's the American way.
His run must begin in a second parking lot across the street. The jump takes off outside the stadium, 94 miles per hour required for success in a new distance record. After 3 warm-up jumps starting at 130 feet, Ernie says they need them. This is it. Sailing out of the darkness, nearly backflipping in midair, then slamming hard on the rear wheel, but successful at 181 feet, 60 yards, the equivalent of 30 cars. Then he falls in pain with damage to his kidneys, his career's hardest hit, he said, but still selling his next jump.
Ernie, you're the world champion. You got anything to say?
Yeah, my back is sore. Caesar's Palace is next. They can't ignore me. I need a better bike, better suspension. I got it together. That counted. I brought that bike to a stop before I almost passed out.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Jay. Let's go up. Oh, by the way, I'll be open for interviews next week.
Again, a reminder that this Sunday at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have live coverage of the German Grand Prix from Hockenheim. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newber. Report on that race, Winston Cup at Talladega, and IMSA at Portland, all next week here on Speed Week.
Speed Week has been brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
United.
That's how we, like this, like a cup. Like a cup. Like, oh, see, he fell on his head. But let him hop. You want to show Papa how you can hop like a toad?
I'll like this boy out.
Before he was hopping. Teddy, come back here. You want to show Daddy how you can hop like a toad? Like the little toad was
Show
hopping?
me the toad, Ted. Show me the toad. Where'd he go? He's over here by Mama.
He's by Mama, right here. There he is. Don't step on him. There he is. See how he hides in the grass. Before he was hopping, just like the toad was. Honey, put your hand underneath him. Don't pick him up like that, okay? Shall I show you again? Shall I show you how you pick him up? Here, you put your hand under him like this. Come on, little toad. There. See, he hopped right over my hand. Can you make him hop over your hand? Ah!
Catch him on my toe.
Oh, be very, very careful, Teddy, because that could make you could actually step on it. Go like this, and he'll hop over your fingers. Hop. Hop.
He wants to come.
He wants to come where?
He's not.
Does he want to come in your hands? Okay, hold your hands just like this. Okay, like that. I will hold him for you for a second. Come on, little toad. Where'd you find him?
By this water faucet there.
Uh-oh. Oh. Yeah, it's so dry. I'm sure they're coming out of the woodwork to get you some water when you water the grass.
I think they eat mosquitoes.
Toads, I'm sure they do. They're real nice little animals. I like frogs and toads. That kind of little amphibian thing. Can you get a closer shot of him? Or is it too? Oh, Teddy, no, hold your hand under him, under him, under him. There you go. Yeah, that's the stuff. Oh, down he goes.
Look where I'm hot.
Oh, boy.
Please go hop on.
That's good. We like toads in our garden because they eat bugs. That's okay with me, peacock garden.
I'm going to feed him if he eats bugs.